So Donegal 113, Tyrone 111 in Ballybuffet in the Ulster Senior Football Championship. Donegal are through to the Ulster semi-finals after a 2-point win over Tyrone. And what a win it was in the end for Donegal in fierce conditions. I mean, that was an intense battle, an intense game. You know, certainly a game in which players on both teams probably never played in worse conditions than today, in all honesty. You know, what an intense battle that it was between these two counties. In the end, Donegal get the victory, the most narrow of victories. And yeah, of course, as always, lads, I'm here to give my thoughts, my reaction after the game. So yeah, let's get straight into it. What's going on, everyone? It's Aaron here from GA Fan TV, and of course I'm back again here with my reaction and my thoughts after Donegal have beaten Tyrone 113 to 111 in the Ulster Senior Football Championship quarter-finals. A huge win in the end for Donegal, getting the victory over Tyrone in what was extremely fierce conditions in this game. You know, you could tell from watching on RTE, you could tell the cameraman was struggling, the pundits were struggling, the commentators were struggling, the players, the referee. I mean, absolutely everyone was struggling out there. It was really intense conditions, and you know, in many ways I was almost surprised the game didn't get called. I mean, looking at it after about 10 to 15 minutes, it looked like the ball wasn't even sticking on the pitch. It looked like it wasn't even bouncing. So I think tremendous work has to go out to the players of both teams, to the referee, and to everyone who was involved in preparing that game, who prepared the pitch, etc., because I think they did a great job in Ballybuffet in getting this game to go ahead and getting this game to be completed. But yeah, look, listen, in the end, you know, Donegal, I think what got them over the line, in my opinion, in this game was just they just seemed to have a little bit more experience and a little bit more know-how in these crunch matches, especially in Ulster. You know, you can tell that they've beaten Tyrone a couple of times in the Ulster Championship. They've won 2 Ulster titles in the past 2 years, obviously back to back. They know how to get these victories. They know how to get the better of Tyrone. They seem to know Tyrone really inside and out. And you know, the big deciding factor in this game was, after the Tyrone goal, of course, from Dara Canavan, Donegal hit 4 without reply. And Donegal, in that moment, for me, that was where the game was won and lost. Because in most circumstances, you know, Owen Van Gallagher makes a horrible mistake. Maybe horrible is a little bit harsh. You know, the conditions were very tough on him, and it was probably an easy mistake to make from, you know, Sean Patton playing it into him, Owen Van Gallagher fumbling the ball, and of course Dara Canavan nicking in, going around the keeper, and you know, getting a crucial goal for Tyrone in the second half. But in the end, of course, Donegal, what they done straight after was they responded with 4 unanswered points. They controlled possession and they slowed the game down quite massively. But of course, we will jump all into that in today's video. But I suppose first of all, as always, lads, what we will do is have a look at the teams. So as you can see here, the team here, a piece of paper that I got off Twitter here. So I don't know if you lads can see that as clearly as I can, but I'll try my best to kind of get the team out here. So Sean Patton was in goal, and then of course the fullbacks was Stephen McManaman, Neil McGee, Owen Van Gallagher. Halfbacks Ryan McHugh, Paul Brennan and Pater Mogan. Of course in midfield was Hugh McFadden, and Kayla McGonigal of course came in for Jason McGee. The half forward line was Kieran Thompson, Niall O'Donnell and Michael Langan. Full forwards, of course, was Michael Murphy, Jamie Brennan, and of course Jake McKelvey came in for Paddy McBrearty. The Tyrone side, just the one change to the side that was originally named. So in goal was Niall Morgan. The fullbacks Liam Rafferty, Ronan McNamee, Padraig Hampsey, Tiernan McCann, Michael O'Neill and Frank Burns coming in for Michael McKiernan in the half-back line. In midfield, Brian Kennedy and Matty Donnelly. And of course the half-back line, or half-forward line I should say, Kieran McGeary, Conor McKenna, Conor Moyler, and of course in the full forward line, Darren McCurry, Peter Hart and Dara Canavan. Interesting enough, Matty Donnelly actually dropped into centre-back, it seemed, to mark Michael Murphy, and that was something that worked a little bit in the first half. You know, Michael Murphy, of course, or, you know, when Matty Donnelly was breaking forward a couple of times in that first half, Michael Murphy had to go with him. And that was an interesting tactic played by Mickey Hart and Tyrone. I think in the second half they switched it up quite a bit. It didn't quite work as well. But yeah, interesting enough, you know, if you look at some of the scores in this game, so Kieran Thompson hitting 7 points for Donegal. Obviously, he got man of the match on RTE. Michael Langan 1-2. Of course, got a brilliant goal in the first half. Sean Patton with a really good kick out, kicked it way up the field. And of course they were able to work a very good goal into Michael Langan, and he just slotted it comfortably past Niall Morgan. And yeah, the likes of Jamie Brennan, Paul Brennan getting on the score sheet as well with points. Oisin Gallen, what a difference he made coming off the bench. And I think that was also where this game was won and lost, was the bench. Tyrone just didn't have the options from the bench, in my opinion, in terms of the players that they brought on. And Oisin Gallen came on and just made a massive difference, not just with that fantastic point that he hit from about 30 metres in fierce conditions. It was also at times when he had the ball, he was very good in possession. He skipped around a couple of players. He was brilliant at holding the ball for Donegal when they were playing keep ball going into the final 10 to 15 minutes. Obviously for Tyrone, Darren McCurry, maybe their standout player, 3 points in this game. I think Dara Canavan, great as well. He's going to be a huge addition for Tyrone in the next couple of years without doubt. Scoring 1-1 in this game, very well taken goal like we were saying earlier. Conor McKenna, maybe not his best game overall compared to previous games. I think though, you have to look at it in the circumstance that Conor McKenna's spent 5 years in Australia. He's come back obviously, to play Gaelic football with Tyrone, and the conditions he played in today, like he definitely never played in conditions like that in Australia. It was very tough for him out there. You could tell he really struggled, and obviously Donegal manned up quite massively on him as well and made it very difficult. He is the target man. He is the main man on this Tyrone team right now in terms of the players they have available. So it was very difficult for him, and you could tell even he missed a free in the second half. And again, the conditions, I think, playing a massive part into that. I think any other day he probably scores that. And yeah, look, listen, obviously, in terms of the entire game, so Donegal hit 7 wides, Tyrone hit 10. And I think another kind of main factor that actually got the win for Donegal in this game, in my opinion, was also frees as well. Tyrone very indisciplined at times in giving away frees. In particular, in the second half, Kieran Thompson must have hit about 5 frees in that second half, which was, the deciding factor in many ways. Also, a couple of times where Donegal would have frees way up the field that, they wouldn't be able to hit from distance, obviously, because of the conditions. They probably would have had to work a score, or they would have, Kieran Thompson would have had to gone for it. And look, listen, with a player of his ability, he might have scored those frees anyway. But obviously, a bit of messing kind of going on higher up the field, and the referee pulled it back in. Now, obviously, we couldn't see what happened there, what the descent was, but obviously, the referee has a much better view than me and anyone else on TV. So he brought the free up closer to the goal, and it just made it way easier for Kieran Thompson. And when you look at it, that happened twice in the game, and Kieran Thompson actually scored two frees, and essentially they won by 2 points. So was quite interesting. I thought in the start of the game, Tyrone were a little more impressive, with their kickouts. I think at times the second ball was quite massive, especially from the kickouts. It was there wasn't really too many clean catches from kickouts. It was normally the second ball. Tyrone were winning the second ball quite early on, but as the game went on, Donegal were getting more men around. Michael Murphy was dropping into the midfield at times, which was fantastic. And obviously, yeah, Sean Patton's kickouts at times were vital for Donegal. That kick out into Pater Mogan, of course, found the space to play it into Michael Langan with a brilliant goal. Without doubt, the ball was breaking down quite a lot throughout the game. Due to the conditions, you could tell that both teams, they couldn't kick from distance in this game. They couldn't really risk it, because more often than not you were going to get a wide. So teams had to work it into the final 20 to 30 meters of the pitch and take chances from there. And definitely Tyrone had a lot of goal chances in the second half. You had that one situation where Conor McKenna, all he had to do was toe poke the ball into the back of the net, but Donegal were able to just about clear it in defence before McKenna was able to turn it in. A couple of other times that Donegal were opened up and Tyrone went for the point when they could have went for the goal. There was one, that the most notable, Peter Hart opportunity, where he put it over the bar when maybe he could have worked a goal. But again, I think with the conditions as well, you're relying on short passing in those situations. You're relying, it's tough conditions. The ball could easily break down there and you could be left without a point. So in hindsight, it's easy to say that Tyrone missed those goal chances and didn't take those goal chances. But I think at the same time, because of how the conditions were in this game, you just have to take the opportunities when they did present in terms of taking points. Yeah, look, listen, in the end, Donegal, their response to the goal was what won the game, 4 unanswered points. Langan hitting a couple, Thompson, of course, hitting a couple of points as well. Burns and Bradley were able to level it back up for Tyrone afterwards, but in the end, Donegal just controlling the possession, controlling the flow of the game, especially in the last 5 to 10 minutes, and that's something that Donegal are very, very good at, in my opinion. There's few teams in the country that can do it better maybe than Donegal in terms of keeping possession, being patient in the final 10 to 15 minutes and then hitting on the break. I think Dublin do that very well as well. Monaghan tried to do it yesterday against Cavan and failed miserably. Donegal were able to do it today and it worked quite massive. And in the end, yeah, they got the victory in the end. Tiernan McCann had that late chance, looped the ball in and it hit the bar. Maybe if that went over the bar, they might have been able to work one more score and send it to extra time. But yeah, in the end, Donegal for me, very well deserved of the victory. Just a little bit better than Tyrone overall. And look, listen, obviously in the Sunday game, they were talking about Mickey Hart. Should Mickey Hart now step down? Has he been there too long? And seen a couple of other things on Twitter as well. So it'd be interesting to know for any Tyrone fans watching what you lads think. I don't think he will step down personally. I think it's either going to have to be the board. The Tyrone County Board will have to say to him, look, listen, we want you to step aside. Should they do that? It's an interesting one. I think with Tyrone next year, if they have a full championship, if we have a full championship next year, a proper championship like what we're used to with provincial championships and qualifiers, Tyrone will be a serious team next year. They're going to have Cathal McShane. Dara Canavan's going to be a year older. Conor McKenna is going to be in there as well, with the likes of Peter Hart, Darren McCurry as well. They'll be in contention again, and they're still a top 6 team in the country. They just happen to come up against Donegal in Ballybuffet in the opening round of the Ulster Football Championship. So from a Tyrone point of view, you'll be disappointed you didn't win this game, and it is disappointing, but I think at the same time there is a lot to be positive about for Tyrone. And if the qualifiers were there, you'd still fancy Tyrone to make the Super 8s or quarterfinals or whatever would have been on the case. But in the end, that's not the case, and that is just 2020, I'm afraid. But yeah, what a win it was in the end for Donegal. Fair play to them for getting the victory. Fully expect them to win Ulster. Fancied them to win Ulster before today, and my opinion certainly does not change now. So yeah, look, listen lads, I'm going to wrap this up here. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be back, of course, for Tipperary and Limerick. I'll also be keeping an eye, hopefully, on Derry and Armagh as well. Still think Derry will win that game, but Armagh will certainly pose a massive threat to Derry. But we'll have to see what happens. My name is Aaron. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.